Luca was so sure of all of us in a way that is so motivating and eternally encouraging. And that is the thing that makes you come to work and want to do something that he hasn't thought of or just really blow his mind.
I don't feel comfortable having this conversation with you anymore.
Not everything is supposed to make you comfortable, Maggie.
What was it about Nora's script that intrigued you? What was the thing?
I think many elements. Of course, the brilliant script, the great dialogue that you wrote, Nora, beautiful, and the fleshing out of the characters that she chiseled so properly on the page. But I would say there were two things that were kind of like coming from different places and then coming together, which was on the one hand the idea of power, the idea of a group of people who cannot come to terms with the possibility of empathy for one another, but they have to prevail on top of one another, which kind of makes them go in dark places and do things that are extreme to one another in order to win something. That what do they win eventually? You know, what do you win when you want something so hard like power over other people? But on the other side, the idea of this world of academia, the idea of this kind of like gilded East Coast world, brought me to memories of films that I love or filmmakers that I love very much, like Mike Nichols, for instance. And in a way, for me, a movie is always an exercise in reflecting from the mindset of cinema itself. So I thought it was very cinematic, thrilling, very breathtaking to know what's gonna happen, very cinematic, and amazing characters.
Julia, what was your first impression of Alma? And by the time you finished filming, what was your feeling about this character?
Wow, that's a very good question, Jess.
Thank you. Julia.
No, I got entranced watching Luca speak. I love his. I want to play Luca in a movie where you just talk with everything you have. I love it. Alma, well, she's so simple and easy. It was such a challenge, and I just loved that at all times Luca was so sure of all of us in a way that just is so motivating and eternally encouraging. And it's funny that he just mentioned the great Mike Nichols, who I was fortunate enough to be very close with and worked with twice. And he was that same way, just really silently encouraging at all times. You know, even if we weren't at work, I could just feel him rooting for me, just knowing that I could pull it off. And that is the thing that makes you come to work and want to do something that he hasn't thought of or just really, you know, blow his mind. Oh, this is going to really blow the doors off Alma today. And by the end, she wore me out. I was just exhausted, and on the last day was ready to just talk in very simple pedestrian terms.
Do you have either a favorite scene in the film, your own personal favorite, or a scene that you feel like really worked very, very well?
You know, I love the opening scene with everybody because those were early days and it was so great for all of us to be in a space together. But I really love the scene with Frederick and Alma when we're waiting for Io to show up and she's late for dinner. I just love that scene. It's so simple, and I just think it says so much about our marriage and about how we occupy the space in our home together. Yeah, I really like that scene.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Michael, what about you?
It's funny because you never know what something's going to be when you make it. And in that scene in particular, once we sat down, I didn't want to move at all. There was something about the simplicity of the wonderful language you gave us and the directness of it that seemed just so, it is deceivingly simple, but really fun to play.
Nora, you were in college, I believe, when you first got the idea for this, or was it sort of inspired later on?
There wasn't like a particular instance, there wasn't a particular current event that prompted me to write this script. I really started with the idea for the character of Alma. I was really interested in this notion of how a certain amount of self-denialism promotes reaching for external success or power, and how that very same self-denialism would be unable to be denied because of the circumstances of the story, and how those two things would come into conflict with each other. But I think, you know, it's kind of horrifying, the ubiquity of these stories that happen on college campuses. So it makes sense that it seems like it was drawn from reality, because these are things that happen.
You worked on the script for a long time with Luca also, and I'm so curious how it evolved. When in your original script, was it open-ended, or did that sort of come later?
No, I mean, the original script was much more black and white. And I think Luca, I think we all know sitting here, is a genius. And I was so lucky to be the beneficiary of, like, not only a deep well of cinematic history that he draws from, but just, you know, his mind. But it was much more black and white. It was much more forthright. And I think that a lot of the talks and collaboration were towards making it more nuanced and making it this prismatic piece where it's multiple truths being questioned.
I'm so curious, Malik, when you were dealing with light, what are some of the, I guess I'll say, tricks that you use to sort of give this an almost Rosemary's Baby type of feel? Because in a way, it's so funny at times, but also horrifying because of the uncertainty.
I think we were just present to the story and the performances. You know, we had some references in the beginning, but we were very reactive to what was needed per each scene, I think. And a lot of it was intuitive, I think, in terms of the lighting, you know, in terms of how their space should feel relative to what Yale should feel like. Just try to be honest with what existed in the scene, you know, and be present for it.
Luca, why was it important to you to leave the ending up for interpretation? And so many things even about, you know, Alma and Frederick's relationship, all the relationships.
Well, I'm a firm believer in the audience, being one member of the audience. I love when a movie ignites me a thread of thought that makes me question, like, how many times we've been asking ourselves what the finale of 2001 means, you know? And how nurturing is that you grow up and you change your idea of what that means. And yet it's like a golden mine of ideas that can come from a movie. So for me, a movie is in the minds and the eyes of the audience. And I love the idea that everyone can make up their mind of what happened in this story, what is the direction that the movie wants to bring them. And maybe we can also discuss it and argue or be having the same ideas about it.
People are so surprised when they hear that basically Yale, New Haven, it was all created at Shepperton Studios.
Yes, we built the majority of the sets, but we tried to make them as precise as possible. Like if there were a tile that was broken or something like that, we tried to match the location as they are in the reality and as they were in 2019, because the movie is set in 2019.
This is a movie about, like, individual truth, perceived truth, imposing of your own truth over the other. So what's more fascinating than making a truthful version of a real place like Yale on stage?
Congratulations on the film. Thank you all.
Thank you.